The players are in the feature match area and ready to go, so we're not going to make you wait any longer. Let's head on down and see who takes it. On your left, we have the 80 card Yorian deck. This person, you know, they actually asked me if they could have a feature match when we were walking around and checking out the decks this morning. And Jacob Cook, congrats. You got a round 2 feature. I told him all you got to do is win. All you got to do is win.
Donnie Perky on your right, and Azorius Humans coming out strong with a recruitment officer.
I believe that's a Seachrome Coast. And no 1-drop play from Jacob Cook, so if we have a 2-drop here, Jacob Cook could be on the back foot really quickly. And then we have the Luminarch Aspirant's going to put a counter on the recruitment officer in a battle for 3. He's going to put Jacob down to 17. We're going to go back his way and see if he can put up any resistance here on turn number 2.
There's an extraction specialist off the top, so any 2-drop creature could, get into combat pretty readily here, or an ossification would be nice, but definitely needs to do something impactful on this turn, or is going to fall really far behind here.
Yeah, one thing to note, it's very difficult to block the creatures effectively against Azorius Humans. They are very good at making their creatures large, you know, thanks to all the counters from Thal's Lieutenant, counters from Luminarch Aspirant. And so spot removal and sweepers are how you have to interact with this deck if you're not trying to go way, way over the top of them. Here we see Adeline. This is a lot of pressure coming down here. We're going to attack with the Luminarch Aspirant, put a counter on itself, and get the token. And now.
Interesting to see that laydown arms from Jacob Cook on turn 2. I don't think that was the draw step for the turn, so decided recruitment officer wasn't all that threatening on turn 1, but then once it gets that counter from Luminarch Aspirant, now it's, you know, threatening and really just taking 3 damage unnecessarily there, getting a little punished for trying to be cagey with his removal spell.
All right, well, we have a Spirited Companion and a Pass Back. Doesn't look so great in the face of these Adelines and Luminarch Aspirants. A lot of pressure about to come across. You have to imagine there's going to be a chump block with a Companion on the Adeline, and then maybe it comes back next turn with the Extraction Specialist, but you're not killing the Adeline. You got to get that thing off the table.
Yeah, and I will say, Donnie Perky, I know that's the right art for basic planes, but I'm not sure when they reprinted it in the new card frame.
Oh,
but
it's from the Stoneforge Mystic deck, I think.
Yeah, you got to get yourself some Odyssey copies of that land, buddy.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% though. Here comes Thal's Lieutenant. That's going to buff the squad. Notably, the tokens from Adeline are humans, so they do buff the Thal's Lieutenant and get buffed by Thal's Lieutenant.
Aspirant gets one too. You might
halfway resolve trigger.
Yeah, you can miss it entirely, but you cannot start putting counters on things and miss part of it.
All right, We're going to crunch in with everything. We're going to make another token. The token puts a counter on the Thal's Lieutenant, and we're crunching in here.
Yeah, and then the Aspirant put a second counter on the first token. So this is an attack for 12? 13 with the other token.
Okay, just short of lethal, but we are chumping the Adeline. We're going to take 3, 6, 7. Back Cook's way.
I'm not sure what Cook can have here.
Any depopulates?
I don't think so.
Are we a depopulate gamer? I doubt it. 2 mana.
I think
Gonna play another Spirited Companion.
I think we need to hit an ossification here for the Adeline.
Even then, it might just still be too much.
Okay, we can gain 3.
Yeah, so put us up to 10.
That could, if there's nothing left for Perky here, that could let us live, but there's another Thal's Lieutenant, and that should do it.
So we can block the 2 biggest. But I think with the Thal's Lieutenants, the damage is really well spread out here, so I think it's lethal even with 2 chump blocks. So.
Oh yeah, even without the token from Adeline, this is going to be lethal, because every creature but the small token has at least 4 power.
All right, chunking on in. Here comes the Knuckleheads.
Yeah, we'll get another token from the Adeline. That will trigger both Thal's Lieutenants. And yeah, nothing doing here for Jacob Cook. Even 2 blocks will not be enough to survive at only 10 life.
Would you say that Jacob's goose is cooked?
Yes, I would.
Nice. I'm going to do that a lot.
Oh, and there's
we
Brave
just
the
even
Elements.
have Brave the Elements before blocks.
Yeah, Brave the Elements could be a game changer in this matchup.
Yeah.
Jacob Cook is going to have to really defend his life total early and keep himself out of Brave range until he can find one of those Eternal Wanderers.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty close to getting to the Eternal Wanderer there with just the 1 laydown arms drawn and, not a whole lot of resistance. The White Weenie deck was essentially left unfettered. If you get to untap with Adeline, it's usually easy pickings. And as we saw right there, no answer for the Adeline, and that was a GG. The laydown arms maybe wanted to like wait a few turns to try to get something a little more impactful. But ultimately, you know, that sorcery speed nature, it's just tough.
Yeah, could have also just cast it on turn 1, and then you would have had turn 2 for a Spirited Companion. Turn 3, you maybe could have done more impactful things later down the road. But, you know, taking that turn 1 off and then not having a lot of cheap removal led to, you know, just getting rolled over there.
All right, well, as these players reach for their sideboards, Ross is going to take a look at their sideboards and give his expert analysis on what they're going to be doing.
So Jacob Cook has the Yorion Companion, has 4 copies of Rest in Peace, 4 Elite Spellbinders, 2 Deafening Silence. None of those going to be coming in here, but does have 2 copies of Settle the Wreckage.
Love
a
it.
very nice sweeper, and you know, once your opponent is aware of that, you get equity from it just being in your deck and then being scared of it.
It's also impossible to play around the Wandering Emperor and Settle the Wreckage. You have to pick one, and when you pick one, the other one beats you. I'm very surprised that more blue-white decks don't actually play the squeeze of those 2 cards together. Every single time that I'm playing against Azorius Control on Magic Online in a league, you know, my entire chat is just like, what about Settle the Wreckage? How do you beat Settle the Wreckage? And I give them my honest assessment. You have to ignore it.
Yep.
It's impossible to beat sometimes, and because it's impossible to beat, if you try to play around it, you lose to the Wandering Emperor. So just pretend it doesn't exist.
And then we got another heavy hitter, the last 2 cards on the sideboard, 2 copies of Archon of Absolution.
All right, I honestly do not know what that one does, so you're going to have to inform me.
Well, I knew exactly what it does and didn't have to look it up at all while you were talking. So Archon of Absolution is a...
You can't see, it's literally just popped up on his phone. I can see it. That's funny.
It is a 3-white, 3/2 flyer with protection from white, so that's a good start. And it also says creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. So a great card for stymieing aggression out of white aggressive decks.
Yeah, and it also has protection from white. The card seems pretty busted in the matchup.
Good luck answering that one, Donnie.
Yeah.
And Donnie's list, we've got 4 copies of Wedding Announcement that's typical in these decks, 1 Sword of Forge and Frontier, the 3 Spell Piercers off that blue splash, 2 Rydane, God of the Worthy, 3 Portable Hole, 1 Fateful Absence, and 1 Destroy Evil. A sort of tough matchup for an aggro deck to sideboard for, because there's a lot of cheap creatures that you might want removal for. There's also big sweepers and expensive spells like the Wandering Emperor and the Eternal Wanderer that Rydane can be good against. It's also kind of a grindy matchup, so maybe you want Wedding Announcement. I'm not entirely sure exactly how Perky is going to, you know, approach this matchup. I do think I like the Rydanes.
Okay.
Stopping Wandering Emperor and the Eternal Wanderer is really important. Mm-hmm. And as a flyer, it can get over some of these clogged battlefields that the mono-white mid-range deck can produce with all those cheap creatures that they're trying to generate value from.
Okay, do you think there's any merit to Spell Pierce for similar reasons? Because you essentially just 1-mana counterspell those 4 and 5 and 6 drop cards that are powerful?
Yeah, Spell Pierce is a little bit harder because it's not a proactive play in and of itself. So, you know, if you want to counter those early removal spells, you have to sacrifice some aggression if they end up not having a removal
holding
spell.
that mana up is detrimental sometimes.
Yeah, but it is quite good against those higher casting cost plays. We'll see if Perky decides to bring them in. I would err towards no. I think just Wedding Announcement and Rydane are the ones I would want.
All right, well, both players here are done with the sideboarding, and we are going to take a look at our openers and see if we're ready to go. On your left, Jacob Cook without mono white mid-range deck, and on your left, Donnie Perky with the Azorius Humans deck. Now, we watched game number 1 where the Humans deck just steamrolled Jacob Cook. On the play, do you think this changes?
It certainly helps Cook to be on the play. You know, doesn't necessarily need a 1-drop at that point. Reading this Kithian here.
It's got a lot of text on it, man.
Yeah.
For a 1-drop.
You know, right here, even something like Ambitious Farmhand or Spirited Companion would be great. Does have a portable hole.
You know, back in my day, Savannah Lions didn't have no text on it. You know? Back in my day. Every time I open my mouth, I just sound older and older.
Yeah, I get that too.
All right, here comes the Luminarch Aspirant after the portable hole on the Kithian, and we have a 2/2 that's going to grow. Back Jacob Cook's way. Let's see if we have another piece of interaction or something to deploy to the battlefield. Settle the Wreckage peeking out. I like that. But here's an ossification. That's going to take care of the Luminarch.
Does have the one basic amidst that looks like a Cave of the Frost Dragon and an Iganjo.
Yeah. I am honestly not a huge fan of the like templating of things like ossification where they sit under your land like Chain to the Rocks, you know? But you gotta do what you gotta do. But that wedding announcement, great in the face of all the spot removal.
Yeah.
You know, it's normally there for decks like Rakdos Midrange because it just generates a lot of advantage in one card. But here we're seeing it, you know, just as a way to similarly sweat through a bunch of the spot removal, you know?
Yeah, definitely a great follow up when your opponent uses 2 removal spells on your first couple threats. But now, it is not the most immediately impactful card, so Cook now has the opportunity to play to his own battlefield proactively. Elects to do that with a Charming Prince. Leaves both on top, though, so
Yeah.
must have something good set up for the next couple turns.
Well, if you notice, he played a Gonjo on turn 3. That usually is a signifier that you are short on lands and missed his 4th land drop. So my guess, both cards on top are lands, and it's going to allow him to curve out pretty nicely for the next few turns.
So, okay, here's a couple 1-drops from Perky.
And then just going to pass the turn and make a wedding invitation token. All right.
Go.
Chapter 2. Not really a saga, but very saga-esque as wedding announcement. When you complete it, though, it transforms into essentially Glorious Anthem on the back. A very interesting card from... honestly, it was like the marquee card for the Olivia set, the wedding set, Crimson Vow.
It's definitely been a very powerful card ever since it was printed. And
Okay, back Cook's Way. Did not play a land, so ended up scrying 2 and putting both on top. Maybe a mistake, but, you know, maybe is kind of sandbagging the land. I don't know.
yeah, you gotta wonder what he liked about those cards if his next turn is just gonna be by Yorion.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this is like the Ponder problem. When I played a bunch of Legacy back in the day, Ponder was this card that could help you dig for, you know, the best stuff in your deck. I would shuffle with Ponder roughly 40% of the time, and I don't think anyone shuffled as much as I did. And I think when you're scrying, it's that similar issue where you have to understand that the top of your deck is not going to be enough. And if it's not the lands you need to deploy the spells in your hand, you should probably put them on bottom.
Yeah. Interesting attack here from Perky. Elects to offer up a trade for his Mutavault in order to get a training counter on that Hopeful Initiate. That is going to make a sweeper a little bit dangerous here because you don't have the, creature land left back, and then empties his hand of 2 more remaining 1-drops. The good news is, with your board extended this much, because he attacked with 2 creatures, the wedding announcement's 3rd trigger will let him draw a card instead of making an additional 1/1, exposing him more to a sweeper. And now has this huge battlefield, ready to swarm whatever defenses Jacob Cook is able to assemble.
All right, here comes Spirit of Companion plus Ossification, the 4th land right off the top, right on time. Jacob Cook.
So maybe misordering. Maybe meant to leave the 4th land on top because he scryed 2
No,
with both on top.
we're one more deeper than we were from the
we are?
scry. Yeah.
Okay, so finds the 4th land when he needs it.
Yes. So the Ossification is going to target the 1 counter Hopeful Initiates. And now we have a blocker. And we're still at 18, The wedding announcement, the early removal spells, these don't really incentivize getting into the combat zone because you want to make the tokens, right?
Yeah.
And so, Jacob Cook's life total is pretty high, and he's starting to hit land drops now. So,
But now the invitation means the companion doesn't really trade. Perky doesn't even want him chump blocking, apparently. He just plays his Brutal Cathar and exiles it. And this is going to be an attack for 13.
yeah, everything's all grown up, too, from the wedding invitation. So, a ton of damage coming through. It's going to put Cook all the way down to 5 life. And we'll see if he can do something next turn. I think Cook has Settle the Wreckage in hand. So it'll be interesting to see if he just goes 4th land, big sigh, go, I have nothing,
We'll see if Perky can sniff it out.
Yeah, and if there's no 5th land from Cook, something like Thali Guardian of Thraben could disrupt it. But here's the Field of Ruin, and now we have our 5th mana source. We're going to transform the Brutal Cathar, and Donnie Perky needs to figure out if he can attack here and how to attack. Maybe he needs to attack with just like 2 or 3 creatures, let the Settle the Wreckage resolve, but not be backbreaking. We'll see if he can sniff it out.
Yeah, you probably attack with a token and a Dauntless Bodyguard.
Well, here's the thing: you got to play around Wandering Emperor
Yeah.
too. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think you send 3 or 4. I'm just not sure which one.
The thing is, I think you have enough material to beat a Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, but you don't kill this turn unless you send 4 against the Wandering Emperor, so. Alright, well, Jacob Cook's hands are tied here. Only 3 creatures coming in. Wandering Emperor does gain 2 life, and he will only take 4 damage, down to 3, if that is the play.
Yeah.
If he wants to burn the Settle the Wreckage right now, he can. But it's such an obvious card, right? Passing with this much mana, you know? And here comes the Wandering Emperor. So we do have the squeeze, and this is going to be Cook getting paid off, and maybe Donnie Perky's going to second guess himself and play into the Settle the Wreckage next turn.
Yeah, and he goes to exile the Dauntless Bodyguard. Perky able to sacrifice that in response, so no life gain from the Wandering Emperor's activation. This does still leave Cook alive. He's going to take 4 here and drop to 1.
Yeah.
So
Alright.
Perky on top of things. Dauntless Bodyguard, even if you never paired it with anything or whatever you paired it with has left the battlefield, you can always sacrifice it.
Yeah.
Because sacrificing it does not require a target.
I think, yeah, so here I think we're just getting clarification. The Wandering Emperor's ability does get countered from the creature sacrificing and not being there. That is going to send Jacob Cook down to 1 life since the 2 life gain gets countered. And we have a great follow-up wedding announcement. This is going to allow him to play through the Settle the Wreckage, even if it is pretty backbreaking next turn.
Yeah,
We're gonna
attack
make
with 2 or more creatures, so you draw a card instead of making a 1/1.
Yeah, battlefield plenty big enough. Card draw there, very good. Back Cook's way. Draws for turn, it looks like. The Wandering Emperor, or sorry, the Eternal Wanderer, the 6-drop version. Eternal Wanderer is a newer addition to the format, one we haven't gotten to see too much of. Cook, I think, we're going to be 1 mana short of casting it this turn, though.
Yeah, 6 land into Eternal Wanderer would change this game around, but I don't think it is coming.
All right, we got a 2/2 and then a passing of the turn. 5 mana available. Donnie Perky had Settle the Wreckage sniffed out last turn. Let's see if he trusts his gut. We're going to spend 4 mana. We're going to activate Recruiter.
Yeah, just trying to generate a bunch of card advantage here while he works his way through the Settle the Wreckage. Very smart from Perky.
Yeah. Might not have something to deploy, but might also just not want to deploy anything. Sweepers are a big deal. Finds an Adeline. And now we're going to see how he decides to attack. Because you have to attack with enough to get through the Wandering Emperor. And then you also have to attack with few enough creatures to not get obliterated by Settle.
So even if you attack with 3 creatures, that is not enough to kill through a Wandering Emperor. So I still think I would just attack with 2.
All right. Well, all right. Here's Jacob Cook's dilemma. If you have the Settle, you probably got to fire it off right now. If you have another Wandering Emperor, you can do that instead. But he's going to go ahead and deploy that Settle and looking to draw a land next turn.
3 basics coming here for Perky. Not sure how many are in the deck given the blue splash, but looks like enough.
The answer is plenty.
Yeah.
Maybe wishing they'd attacked with anything other than the Recruiter because of that Settle the Wreckage giving them so much mana. But a handful of juice. They're going to draw another card off the Wedding Invitation.
Yeah, they got the Mutavault, they got the Adeline in hand. They could even, eventually activate Hopeful Initiate and destroy this Portable Hole.
Yep. I thought that was going to be the line last turn, was to attack with Hopeful Initiate to threaten the counter. And then a Settle the Wreckage in response would have exiled it.
That looks like a Destroy Evil drawn for Perky, so that can blow up one of these ossifications on the end step too,
Nice.
and add another creature to his battlefield that Cook might not be taking into account. I think that's a laydown arms off the top, so no 6 land again. But there is, if you're from Cook's side, you're looking at 3 creatures here. So exile one of them, you've got a blocker. We need to find one more answer, but maybe this Destroy Evil will force through lethal.
All right, doesn't decide to deploy EOT. Going to just untap. We only have 1 creature in play outside of the Mutavault. We can attack with both. The Field of Ruin checks the Mutavault, and then the 2/2 can chump block the Flip Brutal Cathar.
Okay, it was not
Adeline's
Destroy
pretty
Evil.
lethal.
Looks like there's a Brave the Elements in Perky's hand. I think it's Adeline, Brave, and Dauntless Bodyguard.
Okay. So outside of another Settle the Wreckage, which honestly is not even that big of a deal, I don't think. I think Adeline Fire Up Mutavault here is pretty good. And then you just have multiple lethal potential attackers. And we're going to need a lot of help. Can't even really target the, was it Night Pack Howler? I think the back of Brutal Cathar. But, like, can't really target that because the ward kills you, so gotta block it.
It's Moonlight Brute. Moonrage Brute.
Moonrage Brute, excuse me. Alright, Mutavault fired up.
Night Pack Howler is the reverse of Night Pack Ambusher.
Ah, that makes sense. Alright, we're gonna attack with the Mutavault for sure. Are we not attacking with the Moonrage Brute?
Yeah, I don't think he wants to lose that one to another Settle.
Oh, because you get the Spirited Companion back?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But
just gets eaten by the Wandering Emperor
Jacob
again.
Cook hanging on, so
Let him cook. Zeriok, thanks for the raid. Appreciate it. Welcome, Raiders.
I assume we will be exiling the Mutavault here.
Well, he has the Field of Ruin for the Mutavault, so might want
Okay.
to chump Mutavault and then kill the thing with the Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, he's taking that line.
Also gain some life, up to 3.
Yeah, Mutavault does not die. That is a 3/3 because of the Wedding Invitation.
See, if he has Brave the Elements, could have maybe Brave the Elements for the win there, so I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
I think
Is
you're
it
right
Destroy
about
Evil?
the Destroy Evil, and he just chose not to use it.
Yeah.
Maybe, honestly, just like not really, you know, people get kind of, I don't want to say blind to, you know, things like Oblivion Ring in play or these ossifications. Those creatures are just kind of, you know, in the neutral zone.
Okay, last transformation of wedding announced the second wedding announcement there. So now all
Well, I
these
think we
creatures
missed
are
the draw, actually, right? We missed the draw from the wedding announcement from attacking with 2 creatures.
We only declared one as an attacker.
Okay, well, there was a Mutavault that attacked and a... Oh!
Yeah, the token
okay, I
came in
see,
afterwards.
Good call.
And here's land 6. It looks like for the Eternal Wanderer.
Okay, well, we're going to get to see this thing in action. The Eternal Wanderer, this new 6-mana Planeswalker, has an ability to minus, and the controller of the Eternal Wanderer chooses one creature from each side of the battlefield to stick around. And I have to imagine Jacob Cook is going to leave him with a token.
Yeah. So you leave him with a token, you get a Spirited Companion, you make another 2/2.
This is also a sacrifice effect and not a destroy effect, which means that Dauntless Bodyguard does not protect either.
Yeah.
So, a complete blowout here. Donnie Perky going to lose most of his battlefield, including the Brutal Cathar.
Yeah. But there is still a token and a Mutavault. The Mutavault will be a 4/4 when activated. The token will be a 3/3. There's only 2 blockers here, so if Destroy Evil on Ossification should be lethal. Okay, or on Spirited Companion.
Yep.
That is also fine. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Perky lost sight of these Ossifications.
Yeah. Like I said, sometimes you just kind of forget that they're on the other side of the table because they're hiding under the lands, you know? But
yeah,
takes it down anyway.
just barely limps over the finish line. And honestly, that could have gotten awkward if Cook had actually exiled a different creature on the very first Wandering Emperor and gotten the 2 life out of it instead of targeting the Dauntless Bodyguard.
Yeah.
He might have had enough life to survive that last turn.
Would have had 1 more life, not 2 more life, though, because
Yeah.
you would have had targeted
But one
2/2
more
versus
life is
3.
enough.
Yeah.
You got a blocker for the Mutavault, you'd be at 4 against a 3/3.
Yeah.